Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We got a lot of great feedback for the Marketing Essentials series that we did, the 4-part series. And if you haven't checked that out for sure. And we got a lot of requests and a lot of emails, and a lot of people wanted to better understand a little bit more on the details of search engine optimization. So what is search engine optimization? How does it work? What are the systems, Google algorithms, etc. So today's video, we're going to talk about Google. We're going to talk about how Google search works, what you need to do to improve it, just the basics. I'm not going to go too deep into the actual content creation part, but overall, so you can better understand how you are ranked, how that system is actually operating, so that you can have a higher ranking and you can get more organic traffic. Stick around. Search engine optimization. It's a buzzword. SEO. We should do SEO, offsite SEO, onsite SEO, offline SEO, online SEO, this, SEO, that. SEO is great. It gives you organic traffic to your site, and that's crucial. So the more traffic you have, obviously, the more you can sell. But as a marketer, you have to really try to understand what search engine optimization is. Now, if you're not an SEO expert or don't want to be an SEO expert, then you don't really need to know all of the nitty-gritty details. But if you are a marketer and you're trying to have a team or you're outsourcing your SEO, you need to understand what the hell is going on. And that's what we're going to discuss today. So starting from scratch, when you open up a brand new website from zero, you just launched a website. How does Google work? How does Google find your website, understand what's on your website, index, rank, etc. So in order to understand how Google works, there's 3 key elements that you must understand, 3 key terminologies: crawling, indexing, and then results in ranking. Crawling, indexing, and results in ranking. I'm going to unlock all of these one by one so that you can get a better idea. Let's start from crawling. So what is a crawler? Google itself has these automated programs called crawlers. Imagine them like little spider robots on cyberspace, and they kind of crawl through the web and crawl through cyberspace looking for websites and looking for pages. So a website is your website, and a page is every individual page on your website. Every website can have multiple pages, and you probably do. So it starts crawling. All the crawler actually does is fix the position of your site. So in this URL, in this address, whatever.com, that address, a website exists, and it has this many sub pages or this many pages. So the crawler's job is just to identify that a new website or a new page exists in cyberspace. Then you move into indexing. So once that crawler understands that website exists, tells Google, listen, Google, there's a website here, and then Google says, all right. So they put it in basically like a waiting list. Imagine like a waiting list. So you're in that waiting list, waiting for your turn. And then the indexing bot or the indexer goes into those sites one by one and goes into those pages that the crawler has already identified. And what the indexing is actually trying to do is it's trying to understand what your website is about. It's analyzing the content, images, videos. It's trying to really understand what you're trying to sell, what your product or experience is about, what kind of content exists. If it's a blog, what's it about, what's the topic. So the index is the part where Google is simply trying to understand specifically what your website and what your pages are actually about so that they can put that in their index. Once that happens, then that website and page is indexed. What indexed means is like, imagine in the old days when you went to a library, you didn't really have, online stuff. It was library had cards. So it was like A, B, C, D, right? Alphabet. And then you open up the F kind of, the drawer. And then in the F drawer, there's a bunch of cards, like these small little white index cards, right? And you're like, well, FA, FB, FC, FC, and you go through and then you find, the book that you're looking for. So once your website is indexed within Google, then that card exists. So your website will then have a virtual card within Google that says, this is what this website is about. This is what it's trying to sell. This is the images. I analyze the images, the videos, the contents, and this is what this website is about. So it indexes you somewhere within their system and their category system. And then the third one is search results and ranking. So whenever anybody, a user, anywhere in the world, types something on Google or searches something on Google, Google is trying to determine the best content to show them, the best sort of result. So whatever that person is looking for. So once I type in anything onto Google and press enter, based on a specific mathematical algorithm, it's going to take my input as keywords and it's going to go into their indexes, find the corresponding drawer, open the drawer, take out the cards, and then bring and put the cards in front of my face, or what's called a Google rank, right? So the first page that you see is 1 to 10, and that will be sort of your Google rank. It's based on a lot of different factors like location, language, device, so where I'm from, what languages I speak, what previous searches I've already done. So what Google is trying to do is trying to understand who I am, and then based on my keyword input, what I'm looking for, and then it's bringing me all of the websites that's relevant to what me as a person is looking for specifically, right? For example, if you search like bicycle repair shops and you're in Paris, or you search bicycle repair shops and you're in Hong Kong, obviously you're going to get hugely different results. Again, that would be just one example of geography, but there's multiple different parameters that go into the algorithm specifically. The key to understand here is that Google does not accept payments to go up and down on that ranking. You can't pay to be in higher on that ranking. You can do Google Ads, which is a separate thing, right? AdWords, etc. And then based on certain keywords, it'll bring you as ad space, but that's advertising space. The actual organic ranking itself, you cannot pay for. So crawling, indexing, and then results and ranking. Crawling, indexing, results, and ranking. There's 3 key elements to it, right? I'm going to go a little bit on details about how you can improve the crawling part, how can you improve the indexing part, and of course, then how can you improve the keyword part, which is basically the hardest part, or the search engine optimization part, if you will, although all of these factors matter. So the crawling part, the key thing with the crawling is that you want to make sure that Google can access your website and can access all of the subpages on your website. So the first thing you need to do is you need to test whether your website has been indexed correctly, okay? So how many pages and subpages your website actually has. So all you need to do is basically go to Google, type what you see on the screen, literally word for word, whatever you see on the screen, type that into Google, and Google will, on the bottom, it'll say, for example, 207 indexed results. That means that it found 207 pages on your website. If that 207 number, for example, matches the 207 that you actually have, then you are fully indexed. Google knows every single page and subpage you have. If there's a discrepancy in those numbers, then you know there are pages that have not been indexed. So that's the first thing that you can do to make sure you improve the crawling element. The second thing you can do to improve your crawling element is if there is a page that is not indexed, if there is a page that Google doesn't know about, basically, you need to give Google a heads up. You can do that by directly submitting it. So you can submit a URL so that Google puts it in their list. But an easier way and the usual way that you would do it is you would definitely have a sitemap in your site. So if you have an actual sitemap, it's basically like a little document, a little navigation system built within your website specifically for the Google crawler. So the crawler, the first thing we'll do, they'll check that navigation. The robot will come and open up the navigation, and they'll see, well, these are the subpages I have, these are the pages I have, and so on and so forth. So it'll be quite easy for, you're kind of guiding to the crawler to make sure all of your pages are indexed correctly. The third thing that you should do, and you can do, is make sure that your homepage is being crawled first. So the first thing you want to do is encourage the crawler to find your homepage. If you have less than 1,000 pages on your website, your homepage should actually be enough. If you just hit that homepage first, the other pages, the crawler will find it and it'll be able to move from there. The last thing you can do is you can link your website to a website that Google already knows. So well-established, a known site that you're 100% sure that ends up on Google's list. So Google already knows that the website exists. If you put your link on that site, the crawler will find it and then automatically will try to come and crawl your site. Now, you can do this, but once again, a little warning here. If you do that and it's paid, like advertising, so you pay to have your link on certain sites that take money to post those links, then Google won't be following it. So make sure you read up on the Google Webmaster Guidelines for crawling before you pay for any link distribution. So those are the 3-4 things that you can do for crawling. Well, how can you get your site to be better indexed. Well, indexing, just a reminder, is the part where after Google knows that your website exists, they're coming into your site through indexing and trying to figure out what your content is, what your website is about. They're looking at videos, text, they're looking at photos. So they're looking at everything on your site and trying to understand what your website is about, okay? So here it gets a little bit more complex. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the page titles, the titles of your page are short, meaningful, and they're directly to the message of that page, of that site. So what do you want to say with this site? What is your site about? Make sure the title is direct, clean. Try to use direct words and not too complicated terminologies. Don't think marketing here. Think just the robot needs to understand what that page is based on the title. So try to be as direct and as straightforward as you can. Definitely use page headings, okay? So page title and then page heading. So the page heading, basically when you open up any website, there's a big giant text on the top that says something about what that site is about. Whatever that heading is, just like any random human being that's going to enter your site, that's the first thing they're going to see. The crawler is going to enter your site. And when they try to index, they're going to index based on what they're seeing. So they're indexing, that indexing process for Google is basically done via random user. So that robot that comes in and tries to understand what the website is about, they're going to be doing it based on random user. So no username, password, login, no anything behind security corridors or security doors won't get indexed. So it's basically open up the site, whatever you first see, whatever a human first sees, that's what the robot sees, and they're going to index based on that. So make sure your titles and your headings are up to date. This is a little bit of a chicken and the egg. If you use more text, it's easier for the bot to understand. If you use more images, it's cooler and it's funner for the user, the human being. But the reality is that you want to make sure that there is some text. Don't use only photos or only pictures or only videos on your landing page. Make sure there is some sort of text explaining and trying to understand what you're trying to sell, what your product is, what your service is, because that will be then used in the indexing. Even if you have a lot of pictures or a lot of videos, if you caption them or you use a small, annotate underneath it, the bot again will read that in, and it'll be easier for them to come up with the correct index. Okay, so you crawled, crawler is there, you got it, sitemap, everything is ready to go. Indexing, you've checked it, it's all good. Let's move on to the big money item, ranking, results and ranking. So results are based on keywords. The first thing you need to understand is that keywords are basically what the user types into Google and presses enter. All of those words are keywords. So once your site is indexed, then based on what kind of person, so where they are, what device they're using, their language, etc., is typing what keywords, then the algorithm will automatically take those indexes and put it as ranking. Whenever you're ranked, you have to have a keyword. There is a keyword that you're ranked based on. So when you're going after these keywords, the first thing you need to do is understand what keyword you want to attack. So what are the actual keywords that you want that when a person types, they bring up you and is relevant to you. So these keywords is where it gets a little bit complicated because keywords themselves are ranked based on three elements: relevance, authority, and volume. That is the basis of Google's algorithm. So relevance basically means that if I'm typing bicycle shop and you are selling flowers, it's not relevant to me. I want bicycle shops. So if I type bicycle shops, it's going to bring me bicycle shops. Relevance basically means that the human being that's looking for something, Google is going to be inclined to show them exactly what they're looking for. So it has to be relevant to the person that's actually searching that thing. So that's pretty clear. It's pretty straightforward. The second one is what's called authority. Authority is each website has an authority score. It's an actual number. Google gives them an authority score. So authority means, are you as a company, are you as a website, do you have authority? So authority comes from multiple different aspects. A lot of it comes from things like, do you have any backlinks? So is there a lot of other websites within your category or a bunch of other websites that are referencing you? So for example, let's take Forbes or the Mayo Clinic. There's a whole bunch of websites that talk about, prescription medication or, whatever, physiotherapy, etc. And they reference the Mayo Clinic because the Mayo Clinic is where all of that authority is coming from. So understandably, the authority of Mayo Clinic is super high. So if you have a site and you can get Mayo Clinic to put a link of your site on their website, your authority will automatically go up because they have a higher authority. So imagine authority like a soccer game. So a soccer team has 11 players, and throughout the 90-minute game, they're passing the ball a whole bunch of times between each other, right? Whoever gets more passes and gives more passes has a much higher authority within the game, understandably. If you're getting less passes and you're passing less, your authority overall within the team is much, much lower. So the same goes for websites. If you pass more and get passed to more, you're getting more authority. The third is pure volume. So volume means how many people search, how many people have hit the same keyword. 1,000 people have searched that, 10,000, a million, 5 million, 20 million. How many times that keyword was searched. So this is measured by MSV, monthly search volume. So it's basically how many times a month that search word came up or that search word was actually used. The higher the monthly search volume, the more likely it is that you have other competitors trying to attack that keyword. The lower it is, less people are searching it, but at the same time, you have less competition in those keywords. So relevance, authority, and volume. So to get your keywords up and running, to understand better what keywords you want to use, you need to use some tools. You need to use some keyword analysis tools or SEO tools. We use a lot of different tools. I would recommend, SEMrush and Ahrefs is probably the biggest ones, easiest one to go for. Google Keyword Planner is also okay. There's Ubersuggest. There's a whole bunch of other ones, but SEMrush and Ahrefs is probably the big two. We definitely use those and we're happy with them, so I'd recommend jumping on that. It gives you kind of a good idea. You can do the trial version and see how it works, but ultimately you're going to need some sort of SEO tool to understand the search volumes, the authority, and of course the relevance. So quick recap. 3 key elements when you're talking about search engine optimization: the crawler, the indexer, and then results and ranking. Crawler, indexer, results and ranking. Crawler is just like a little cyber robot that comes and says these websites exist. The indexer jumps in, tries to understand what the website is about, so analyzes content. And then the ranking guy, right, the ranker, if you will, what the ranker does, or the Google ranking does, is they then, based on specific keyword searches, brings up results from those indexed websites. Guys, you cannot use what you learned here today to be an SEO expert, just to be clear. This is SEO 101. It's the basics. This is what you must know in order to do anything in the search engine optimization space. But once you start understanding the bread and butter, once you start understanding how the details of Google works, then it becomes easier to understand how you can get higher rankings on the keywords that you are looking for, drive traffic, and of course, then drive revenue. If this was helpful at all, guys, please help us out. Drop a subscription below. Next week, we're going to be looking at the biggest scams and the biggest pyramid schemes that ever existed in the world, starting from the one, the only Italian Ponzi himself. So stick around, guys. See you next week.